All right, welcome into the Rowdy Studios with Reid Spencer of the Sporting News. My name is Bass Masters. That's Buzz Cutler, and we're doing a little silly season roundup here, Reid.
Well, it's midway through the season, more or less. It's the last off weekend of the season. We thought it would be a good time to take stock of who's got a ride lined up for next year, who doesn't, where they're going to go. So we'll just go down driver by driver. Carl Edwards is probably the biggest fish in the free agent market.
That's no question about that, and he is the domino that everyone's waiting to fall, because when Carl makes up his mind, when Carl makes his move, if he moves, then other pieces are going to fall into place. So, you know, Carl at this point has an offer on the table from Joe Gibbs Racing. He has an offer on the table from Roush Fenway Racing, his current team, to stay there. What he decides to do, he insisted at New Hampshire this past weekend that he has not yet made up his mind.
And that's what it's down to, just him making up his mind?
I think that's true, because Aflac, for one, is ready to come back with him at Roush Fenway Racing. Perhaps not at the same level that they are right now, but they're willing to sponsor Carl ongoing, and he's done a great job for him. It depends on whether he wants to drive a Ford, which he's driven all his life, or a Toyota, which he's never driven. And so we'll see what happens with him. I mean, I would give him a 50-50 shot either way right now. There are some who says he's already made an agreement with JGR and Toyota, and the other speculation is that JGR is scrapping its engine department and consolidating with TRD out in Costa Mesa in order to pay for this Carl Edwards.
Right. Would you give up 5 horsepower for Carl Edwards? I would.
Well,
you know, how much are you giving up by using a TRD engine if you have a great influence over that?
Well, and they may actually not be giving up anything, because we're going to fuel injection next year.
Exactly.
TRD's doing the development on the fuel injection, and not in-house Mark Conquest at
yeah, just look at the efficiency.
JGR.
When would you expect there to be an announcement?
Well, I think Carl is really under the gun now to decide something and to say something. I would expect either before Indy or at Indy that he will have an announcement, because, I mean, his guys on the 99 team are getting a little put out in terms of the indecision, and, you know, he's already starting to lose them a little bit, I think. They don't like the fact that, he's not making a commitment, and he may be prolonging this just to basically stay at the top of the points as long as he can, because...
Oh, that's an interesting theory.
Because once he says he's leaving, if that's what he says, you got to think his championship hopes are done.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it'd be pretty tough to overcome that and win a title, although stranger things have happened. How does this affect someone like Clint Boyer, for example?
Who's number 2 on our list?
Well, Clint Boyer is number 2 on the list, and Clint, I believe it when he says that he would like to stay with Richard Childress Racing and drive the number 33 car, because he's comfortable there, has a good relationship there. But they don't have a sponsor for Clint right now. And so they are looking, I think Clint would be a good fit. If Reagan is not in the 6 car next year, I think Clint would be a good fit in the 6 car with UPS sponsorship, for instance. That's pure speculation.
Well, let's put him in some brown shorts and see how he looks.
Well, because you think if Carl Edwards leaves Roush, then that obviously opens up a spot for somebody like a Clint Boyer.
Right, and I think they're also eager to move Ricky Stenhouse Jr. up. I think probably next year Trevor Bayne is going to be remaining with the Wood Brothers in the 21 car, because I think Ricky is a little bit older and more ready to make that move at this point. So, so I think Roush has options, but what they need is sponsors.
Who's number 3?
Number 3 on our list is Mark Martin. We know he's not going to be running full, or we think he's not going to be running full-time next year, but is he going to be running anywhere?
Well, I mean, Mark Martin may be running in the Nationwide Series if he can make a deal that's financially profitable to him. It wouldn't be totally surprising to me to see him end up at JRM, Junior Motorsports, in one of the Nationwide cars there, simply because he's got the GoDaddy relationship at this point, and he may be in a situation to mentor another driver at Junior Motorsports named Danica Patrick.
Who could that be?
Right.
Right.
And they already had a nice interaction at Dover, I believe.
Right. That's correct. And so that would not surprise me if Martin doesn't find a cup ride somewhere. If I know Jay Fry would love to have him over at what is now Red Bull, but
that team's got to be sold. You got to get sponsors.
You got to get a sponsor.
A lot of pieces to that puzzle.
A lot of different things to take care of, and probably to get Martin over there, they'd probably have to change manufacturers.
Now, speaking of Red Bull, what do we think about Brian Vickers?
Brian Vickers is, to me, at this point,
a man without a country here.
A man without a country, totally up in the air at this point, and I have no idea where Brian's going to go. I think he's done a really good job for Red Bull. When Casey Kane leaves that team, and they're just so much up in the air and so much uncertainty surrounding that organization that it's doubtful to me that Brian will be back there.
Yeah, and that's tough.
So he'll be looking for another ride.
Is Brian Vickers another guy that you could see dropping down to Nationwide a la Elliott Sadler and maybe trying to just reestablish a foothold down there?
I mean, that would be a possibility, I think, but Brian, having won the Nationwide title back in 2003,
right,
and having been a Cup driver ever since, I think that would be more of a blow to him than it would be to Elliott, because Elliott had toiled for a while without success in the Cup Series in a variety of situations that didn't suit him, and now he's found a Nationwide deal that does. So, I don't know whether Brian would want to make that step or not. And the other thing that he could do, which he did, I thought, very well in a substitute role during his time out of the car, is do commentary. I mean, I thought he brought a lot to the table.
He's a very sharp guy, is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Reid Spencer trying to
not silly.
Helping us make sense of the silly season map as it stands now. We'll see how close we came when all is said and done.
Yeah, and if we're wrong, it's his fault.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.